The coronavirus pandemic has been described as a defining global health crisis and the greatest challenge that the world has faced since World War II. Several development partners contributed funds to developing countries such as Nigeria to help fight the spread of the virus and the economic impact of the lockdown on the vulnerable members of the society. In 2020, Nigeria received a total of 141.1 billion naira from donors. Breaking this down, the Ministry of Health highlights that from the United Nations Basket Fund alone, the country received 22.6 billion naira. In donations, COVID donated 43.2 billion naira. The oil and gas industry donors gave 21.4 billion naira. Development Partners Group on Health contributed 42.9 billion naira and Gavi gave 4.5 billion naira. The federal government also says it received private donations into its account to the tune of 2.0 billion naira, while other donations worth 4.04 billion naira were received, making it approximately 141.1 billion naira. At this audit meeting, this coalition of civil society groups led by Budget says Nigerians need to know how these funds were appropriated and if those affected by the COVID lockdown benefited from it. They rate the federal and state governments low on transparency in the COVID funds disbursement.
Nigeria is still running an audit on the 2019 audited report, so it simply means that we are still 3 years behind on the spending of the little resources that we have as a nation. So we are complaining about not generating enough resources as a government, yet the little that we are spending, citizens do not have access on how these funds are being utilized. This program basically is just for us to have a deliberation as a coalition on accountability to ensure that the government publishes this report to the public.
The major challenge is people wanting to shortchange the system because of the emergency situation. And as I said in my presentation, the first thing that suffers is the internal control system, because people don't want to wait for things to go through the process because of the emergency nature. Then the other thing that suffers is that, like in Nigeria, we have the Public Procurement Act. Most of the time, you find a situation where maybe the Public Procurement Act is not adhered to because of the nature of the emergency.
Audit experts say Nigeria has a poor audit culture and that being able to trace the use of funds, especially that relating to the use of the COVID-19 funds, has been difficult. The CSO coalition said the audit bill that lays the groundwork for transparency in the utilization of public funds should be urgently passed by the National Assembly and assented to by the executive.
It is important that we now come back to the public, for which you hold the trust of power, to tell them that this is how much we got, this is how much was appropriated, and this is how we use the money. I think if we do that, then we are being responsive as leaders, as policymakers, and then we are, also building trust on the part of citizens. I think it's in that light that we ought to have had, audit reports on how, COVID-19 funds was utilized.
It is hoped that the recommendations from this meeting will ensure that there is more accountability on the disbursement of COVID-19 funds in Nigeria. Georgina Ndukwe-Ezeanyika, Arise News.